Thank you so much. All right, so welcome everybody to this Q&A session for the MPhil in Urban Studies Southern Urbanism program at the African Center for Cities. We are busy bringing together the 2027 cohort, and I am delighted that you are all interested in potentially joining us. And I hope I'll get to be able to engage with you all. Today, I'll briefly introduce the program to you, the curriculum, a little bit about the African Center for Cities, which is our host institution, and the work that is being done here, and then talk about a few practical steps of the application process just to help your process. And after that, and that's the main part perhaps, I will open it up for questions and will seek to answer to my best knowledge. So let me, Telani, would you be able to permit sharing? Somehow my desktop app didn't work, so I joined from my browser, but it says that I'm not allowed to share. Okay, yes, it's still disabled somehow. Apologies, everybody. Wonder what I could do. Let me see if I can join. Telani, are you able to
do you want to try now,
permit
Anna?
share?
It's permitted
Okay,
on
let
my
me see.
end. Let's try again.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you. It's just very different from the web app, but I think I'm getting there. Yes. Okay, hopefully that's shared now. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay, fantastic. And then I think I will just have to click through from Adobe. All right, so apologies for the technical glitch there. Welcome once again to this presentation. A few words about the African Center for Cities, which was established in 2008, and we are, as you know, based at the University of Cape Town. ACC is proud to be one of the leading research centers focusing on practical propositional research on African and Southern urbanization. And our focus is interdisciplinary and methodologically, or in terms of the practice or process of research, we try as much as possible to approach it in the form of co-production, the co-production of knowledge. And of course, as the title of our program attests to it, we seek to do that from critical and Southern perspectives. ACC seeks to curate and nurture imaginative policy discourses and practices to promote vibrant, just, and sustainable cities. And that really is one of the core aims of the Southern Urbanism program, too. This is just to give you a sense of the shared knowledge making that happens at the African Center for Cities. This is just a few books and magazines that come out of the center, starting with the Cityscapes magazine, which is a public-facing production. and it aims to share stories from cities everywhere, but focusing on the global south, and some volumes that scholars at ACC contributed to. As I mentioned, and you might have come across this tagline before, the main aim of the MPhil in Urban Studies, Southern Urbanism, is to foster the next generation of urban scholars from Africa rooted in Southern city perspectives. So we place a huge emphasis on this principle or imperative, really, that the face of urban scholarship, mainstream urban scholarship, needs to change in order to genuinely represent concerns and aims, dreams and aspirations of city dwellers from everywhere, but especially the African continent, which is usually and still, even in the 21st century, is underrepresented in academic knowledge. So we believe that in order for this perspective to really make itself heard and seen and make itself relevant, it's important that those who will be shaping academic knowledge are rooted or familiar with or have embodied the experiences of cities in Africa and the global south. And in order to do that, it's important that that new scholars, PhDs, new university faculty or applied researchers go through this process and expose themselves to curriculum that is defined by Southern and African perspectives. The program was designed for those who already have an undergraduate plus honors if they come from South Africa. In a lot of other African countries, you don't have the 3+1, but the undergraduate degree is a 4 or 5 year degree in some cases. You are also very welcome if you already have another master's degree. As you see in this diagram, we really emphasize the interdisciplinary nature of the program. And so we welcome students interested in cities, in the African city, in urban concerns, coming from all sorts of disciplinary backgrounds. So we have had students coming from engineering, a lot from social sciences like political studies or media studies, of humanities. We have had curators and artists, literary scholars or linguistic scholars joining us, and of course also the built environment. So we have many students who come with an undergraduate degree in planning or architecture, some from development studies. So really all these four realms are represented in our diverse cohorts. And indeed, we believe that this diversity adds so much to the learning experience because students get to understand different disciplines or different mode of knowledge through their peers who come from a different background. The aim in terms of the method or the focus of the curriculum is to provide rigorous theoretical and also methodological foundation in interdisciplinary urban studies. This is so those of you who want to continue into an academic pathway can have a solid grounding for that. So both theoretically and methodologically. So far, we can quite proudly, I am anyway, proud of the fact at least 50% of our graduates continue into PhD. However, if that doesn't rock your boat, that's completely fine because many of our students, if they don't continue into an academic career, they go into applied research, or they start working with municipalities or other state organizations, NGOs, and the such, and thereby make use of their well-honed research skills. Just to give you a sense of the structure of the program. So the first year is when you complete all your coursework. And that comprises the year-long City Research Studio, which is our practical course that's divided into 4 different modules. And in the first 3, you are exposed to 3 different kinds of urban practice, and do that beyond the classroom in collaboration with other urbanists, or for instance, communities in occupations like the Sissigul House in Cape Town, or Singabalapa on Main Road in Cape Town. That is the focus of City Research Studio 2, where we work on the lived realities of housing policy. But let me not get ahead of myself. I'll say a little bit more about the City Research Studio later. Just now, to give you the skeleton of the program. So that is CRS year-long course, and that means that both in semester 1 and 2 you will have a studio. Then we have 3 core courses: urban theory, urban everyday, and curating urban regulation. And the request is that you take 2 of these 3. And or as many of our students do, take all 3. However, if you feel like for your own interests, it actually makes sense to only take 2 of the core courses and complement your learning with an elective from beyond the program, because, for instance, you are really interested in artistic practices and want to attend a course in the fine art department, that's completely fine. The only requirement is that you come and talk to me as a course convener, so that I can discuss with you whether this really is a good choice in terms of your urban research profile. So that is year 1, and then in year 2 you complete your minor dissertation, and that means that you'll spend about a quarter year with collecting data, so doing fieldwork or engaging in other forms of data collection. And then you go through the process of analyzing your data and your findings and writing up your dissertation to be submitted at the end of the second year. All right, so now, just to go into a bit more detail, as I mentioned, the City Research Studio is a year-long course, and it really is the anchor of the program because it brings together theory and practice, which we place a great emphasis on. It's built as a learning context in which students experiment with multiple forms of urban knowledge, expertise, and collaborative and co-produced research practice beyond the conventional classroom context. These are some visuals from previous City Research Studios. This volume, Ruo Imo and Building Houses Bit by Bit, they resulted from what is now City Research Studio 2. So the collaborative research process with people who are facing some sort of a challenge around housing policy. So we usually work with a group of residents in various challenging housing situations, as well as either an NGO who already has an established relationship with that community, or some other organization, so that we don't enter the community all of a sudden without actually being well aware of their circumstances, but also having their trust. So this has worked quite beautifully over the last 9 years now. And as I mentioned earlier, the last couple of years, we've been working with two occupations in Cape Town, Sisigul House, which is a building occupation in Woodstock, and Singabalapa, which is a land occupation in Observatory. On to our core courses. Urban Everyday is a semester-long course in the first semester, and I think it's one of students' favorite because it really shows you the kind of knowledge production that is possible when you direct your attention to those everyday forms of city making, all the ways in which residents themselves build the city through various trading activities or building methods, or all the ways in which millions of people all over the world in southern cities, but also actually cities in the global south, make these cities that are often not built for the poor majority, but they do manage to make the cities work for themselves in some ways. And so this is the focus of the Urban Everyday, attending to processes like waiting and protesting and insurgent planning and all sorts of ways, as I mentioned, that residents themselves shape the cities from the bottom up. Urban theory is one semester-long course also in the first semester that I convene with input from Edgar Pieterse, who's the director of the ACC. And here we take up the conceptual challenge that I mentioned earlier, which is that mainstream urban studies still is predominantly drawing from examples from cities in the global north, so your London and Paris and Chicago, but the quest that urban theory takes on is how do we think, how do we conceptualize cities from the global south? Sorry, I think one of you needs to mute your microphones, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Let me just see.
Could you please navigate to...
Sorry, Talani, I don't have the right to... Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Let's continue with curating urban regulation, which is a second semester course and builds on the first two, also builds on the experience of the studios and asks you to start thinking about, okay, from the vantage point of these challenges, both practically and conceptually, how do we then rethink what policy does? How does this Southern urban knowledge translate into the ways in which we think about these vehicles of governance in Southern cities? So that is an exciting challenge that we are still exploring collectively, and students' inputs from all your various cities and experiences are very, very welcome. This is the team. So I mentioned Professor Edgar Pieterse, who is the director. This is me, the convener. I have been the convener of this program since 2018, I think. And at that point, I had longer hair. Dr. Nobukosi Ngwenya teaches into the program, actually is busy currently with our first year students in City Research Studio 3. They just started that studio today. Faranaz is our wonderful postgraduate administrator. Geetika Anand is a PhD student, but also a graduate of the first cohort of the MPhil in Southern Urbanism. She started it in 2018. And she teaches into or co-facilitates City Research Studio 2 with me. Dr. Laura Kula-Wentz is my lovely colleague who convenes Urban Every Day with Professor Nancy Odendahl, who's the University of Basel, UCT professor in urban studies, and is also responsible for City Research Studio 1, which, and I forgot to mention this earlier, apologies for that, which focuses on embodied forms of research in Cape Town as a coastal city. And now onto the practicalities. So you will find all the necessary information about the application process on our website. I'm sure you already visited it. And once you are ready, you need to apply online through UCT's application platform. This is the address. And then there's one tricky step, or not necessarily tricky, but a bit counterintuitive that I will detail on the next slide. When you select the program, it might not be straightforward, so it's best to either screenshot this and the next slide, or to email us, and then we can share this slideshow with you. As I say here, if you encounter any difficulty, please just email Faranaz and she will help you. Application deadline this year is the 15th of September for international students or international applicants. Apologies, this is a bit of a mistake on my part. I will update this as soon as I can. For everybody else, South African citizens, the deadline is the 30th of September and not October this year. The shorter or the closer deadline actually helps us processing the applications quicker. And I'm sure a lot of you will be looking into funding opportunities. So we encourage everybody to go and visit the postgraduate funding office's notice board. You will find that on this link. Okay, so the not so straightforward step that I wanted to detail, when you get to step 8, program choice, you first have to select the level of qualification, which is master's. Then you select the faculty, which is engineering and the built environment. Then you need to select the MPhil, so Master of Philosophy by coursework and dissertation. And the split that you have to choose, which is not reflective of our actual 90-90 split between research and coursework, but EB doesn't have one like that. So you'll have to choose 60 research, 120 coursework. And once you do that, the specialization of urban studies will become available, and then you choose that. So go from top to bottom, master's, EBE, Master of Philosophy, 60 research, 120 coursework, and then choose urban studies. And if you do that, you will encounter no problem. These are the course fees for this year. Every year, unfortunately, there is a little bit of increase that follows inflation generally. So these might not be your exact course fees next year, but they give you a good indication. So every international student, whether from SADC countries or not, needs to pay this international administrative fee. Then if you are from a country that is beyond SADC, but from Africa, you also unfortunately have to pay this rather hefty international term fee, and that is because of the subsidy that the university doesn't get from the state for students beyond SADC countries. Nevertheless, faculties have what is called the Faculty International Student Bursary that you can apply for, and oftentimes the bursary covers part of all of this international term fee, so there is hope for this to be deducted or completely covered. Then, in terms of course you get, depending on what courses you will take, but this is the range, so just below 55,000 for all 4 courses. And then the dissertation fee you only pay in the second year. Yes, so that is just to give you a sense of what the budget needs to be. I definitely encourage everybody to seek funding possibilities to make this feasible. And that is the end. This is my email address if you want to take a quick screenshot of it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or Farnaz. And I thank you for your attention. Let me stop sharing so that I can see you. There we go. Great. So now the floor is yours, and please let me know if you have any questions. Yes, Christopher, please. If your data allows, please turn your camera on so I can see you. There you go. Hi, Christopher. I think we talked
Hello.
earlier this year.
Yes, so this is actually the second I think info session that I've attended, but thank you for, it's good to have a refresher. And I think also since last year, I was also intrigued about this dual degree program that you're offering with Sciences Po. And I was actually in Paris I was able to speak with Cyril a bit, so maybe you can
Great.
just if you have any general remarks on that. And at the same time, I'm actually based in Johannesburg, and perhaps would like to schedule a sort of a one-on-one maybe later in the year or in November, if that's feasible for the next, probably not next year, but maybe 2028 introduction. So I just wanted to check if that's feasible and if November is, I don't know what the term calendar looks like, if that's feasible from your side, and whatever colleague might be available to discuss further. Thanks so much.
Sure. Thank you, Christopher. So the Sciences Po UCT or Sciences Po ACC dual degree, the application window for 27 has closed. I'm sure Cyril told you that. And it will open again later this year, I think in September, and will be open until March. That's a bit of, for those of you who are not necessarily aware, it's a different program in terms of the structure, but shares some courses with us, quite a few actually. But I'm sure I'll have an info session about that once the application cycle opens. As for November visits, absolutely, Christopher, please just send me an email and then we can see what dates work for everybody. But I'm happy to make time. Lungelo?
Hi, everyone.
There you are. Somehow I can't hear you.
You can hear me.
Yes, it's very soft, but better. So
Okay, I'll
please
try.
speak up.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. It's quite compelling. I just want to get an idea about minimum requirements. That is my interest. I couldn't really capture you on that particular part. Thank you.
Sure, the minimum requirements for entry.
Yes.
So I hope I
Yes.
understood. Okay, great. The minimum requirements is at least an honors degree if you are in the South African system, or a 4-year undergraduate degree, or a master's. And in terms of the marks, your average mark for the degree should be in the upper second realm. And I should also add that if you don't have an honors or a 4-year undergraduate degree, but have a solid professional experience, then we can look into recognizing previous learning. So the recognition of previous learning, the RPL process is available at UCT. So if you have concerns or questions, Lungelo, about whether or not you meet the requirements, please just send me an email and attach your CV or just explain what your concerns are, and then we can look into whether the RPL route is required and if it is, whether it's feasible or not. So I can, otherwise, yeah, you're welcome to follow up your input now, and we can try and clarify that, because maybe it's useful for others too. But I hope that was helpful just as a beginning.
Oh yes, yeah, it was indeed helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lungelo. Who else do we have here? Any questions? Irene, Jose, Beverlyn, Nkosana. Any questions, concerns? I'm here. There's no silly question. Is everything crystal clear? Kosana, okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Tselane. Tselane just shared the brochure, which will have all this information. Okay. All right, then. As I mentioned, if the brochure still leaves you with further questions, please email us, and you'll be able to request the recording, or Tselane will make it available perhaps on one of our socials. In whatever way, please feel free to get in touch with us in this process of application. And I really do hope that we piqued your interest, and that we'll see you here next year. In the meantime, all the very best to you. And thank you so much for your attention and attending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. Bye.